Boom!
We live?
Yep.
Try to keep you all waiting,
Well,
everybody.
welcome back, everybody. It's Friday.
Hmm.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the week.
Holy
and,
shit.
More specifically, it's FastTrack Feedback Fridays, which means we are giving you feedback on your music to try to help you create the best thing possible.
Yeah. Josh, stall real quick. I'm going to get my charger. It'll be like...
All right. Well, Chris right now is coming at us live from a house show house. He's doing a gig with a new band that he's a part of. So if anybody's in Urbana-Champaign, some people actually might be. University of Illinois, go check that out. You could DM us if you want to find out about that. But yeah, we've got a good show lined up. I'm excited for this. We've got, I think, 4, 5, 6. It looks like 6 songs, and a bunch of them are from last week from people who were on then. So hopefully you guys are back. And yeah, looks like it should be a good one. Should we jump right into our first track?
Yeah, did we tell them that we have 6 songs and who's on the queue and stuff?
Yeah, so the full queue here. First up, we've got Darius Z. Darius.
What's up, Darius?
Then we've got So I Thought. Then we've got Giordano Martinez. Then we've got
YouTube
Astrosynth, Clint Tone, Meadle, and Jokerhead. Cool names today.
For sure.
Interesting artist names.
And I saw your text just now, Josh. We might not be streaming for the next 2 weeks because of holiday reasons. So
yes,
like we said, it might suck to not get to everybody. So we might go a little bit faster than we usually do.
Right.
That goes for like double. If you guys submit during the stream, I don't know if we could make it. I have to leave a little bit earlier for a house concert that we're throwing. But without further ado, if you're here in the chat, say what's up. Happy Friday. But yeah. All right.
Friday.
Oh, I fucking.
All right. So yeah.
Sure.
First up, we've got Darius Z. Ooh, I can't even read that. SDR Uction. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe they just typed it wrong.
Yeah, I thought it was like seduction, but
the song is called. Okay, so a little hard to pronounce. That's okay. It's gonna be a little harder to tell your friends about it, but that's fine. All right, you got it pulled up?
Yeah, I have it pulled up.
All right, let's hit play in 3, 2, 1, go.
You got a video too.
Volume warning. Uh-oh.
Rhythm. It's that tension. That's a cool sound.
Yeah.
Kind of hard. I like that.
Yeah. Right, back to the verse.
This reminds me of old school dubstep.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's a nice kickback. Like Rusco.
You suck! Suck!
What is?
Suck! Suck! Suck!
Ugh.
Suck!
Is it me or if this is really loud compared to the other parts of it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Damn.
That was Darius Z. Seduction, I'm guessing. Oops. Hold up. Autoplay. He has a
Wow.
description here too. It says, "One of my hardest and brutalest tracks. I don't know. I'm not a professional producer. I'm doing this for fun, but also hope it's not that bad. So yeah, I hope you like it." And we got Jokerhead in the chat. Love a simple rhythm. I think Jokerhead's up in the queue too. Maybe a couple songs down. He's the sixth person. So
Hey,
what's up,
let's
Jokerhead? Happy
go.
Friday. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if you made a comment on this. I guess the overall vibe, just to start out with, I guess for experience, I'll try to just bottle everything into the categories. But overall vibe was like it's sort of that old school dubstep thing.
Mhm.
It was fun. It was sort of like a switch, like literally it was either like on or off, right? It was like in the verses, it's just
Yep.
like a little bit sleepy almost.
Mhm.
It sort of was a little bit boring in those verses, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then in the choruses, it was like really hard, right?
Yeah.
And I think you might have alluded to this, but there was also a huge volume difference between what was happening in the chorus and what was happening in the verse.
Mhm.
And so there was a volume warning at the beginning, which is correct, but it's also like hard to have an enjoyable listening experience when like physically it hurts your eardrums when
Mhm.
you have it, turned up to a suitable listening volume in the verse, then it gets way too loud and hard and
Mhm.
trebly and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but overall, that stuff does affect the vibe. But overall, it's an okay vibe. I think it's a little bit too boring in the verse, and then the chorus doesn't sound quite as well organized as it could be for me. So I would give it a develop in the vibe category.
Mhm.
You want to do vibes?
Yeah, so we should go just vibe. But okay,
Yeah.
um,
Hmm.
yeah. So I agree with Josh that it's like an old school dubstep type thing, but you do have some bro step. I would say like there's I don't know how many waves, but I categorize it in one wave of like Rusco and I don't know anybody else. Rusco is like the first thing that comes to mind, and then like Skrillex is like the second wave and beyond. So this definitely sounds first wave. It's cool, very simple, kind of tension building verse into the hard chorus. Um, maybe I was thinking to myself maybe that the first one was build-up was a little bit too long. I just wasn't feeling enough tension. I felt tension, and I mentioned it, I think, but I also looked at the time, like it's like over a minute and hasn't dropped yet, so that might be my attention span. Um, I don't know. I think there's a lot to like though. I personally thought it was pretty decent. I think it went for the rhythm, the old school dubstep that you're going for. I would say it's in between yellow and green for me in vibes.
Sure.
Um,
Um, and then I guess for content, again, I just felt like it was a little bit lacking for me in terms of
mhm,
like,
mhm,
there wasn't a whole lot. Like I know that it makes sense to have a chorus or a build or whatever that builds to the chorus, right? But I just felt like it was a little bit like monotone, sort of. Like I wanted to have a little bit more dynamic stuff happening there, like maybe even just more like instrument parts that are kind of interacting with each other to
mhm,
make it more interesting.
mhm,
And then I like conversely in the chorus, or the drop, I felt like it was sort of I was just getting a lot of harshness, right? And that's partly the volume things and the spectral things, but
yep.
the synth choice there wasn't quite as tight as I might like in like a for like a wub sound.
Wow.
It was a little bit like just like scratchy kind of
Mm,
grating.
yeah.
So again, that might also be the way that the part is like written or arranged or placed or whatever is
Yep.
being done there. So I would just say like look at really try to be intentional with the organization that feeds into building the energy in a way that is more satisfying.
Mhm.
So again, for content, I would probably give it a develop as well.
Mm-mm. Um, I agree that the synth choice was a little bit scratchy, but that's kind of reminiscent of the second wave of dubstep, I would say. It
Sure.
was like
I
I
mean,
was listening.
Skrillex does have a lot of stuff though, where it's like these really like sort of abrasive sounds that are still pleasing within the context of
Oh
things and
yeah,
are balanced right.
yeah, exactly. So I was listening for that because I definitely the top end came out the most in that synth. And I was like, okay, is there any low end on this? And I felt a sub in it. Where I felt it was lacking was low mids. Um, and so
Yeah,
the reason why I bring this up is because for content wise, if you're gonna have kind of that main wub be the only thing besides the drums, that means you can have it spectrally fill the whole thing. Like you don't have to have these holes. Like typically you would EQ places and make room for other instruments, but in this case, it's the only instrument. So make it take up the whole space. I didn't hear that there. That's probably more production thing. I guess content kind of goes with it. And content wise, when I'm thinking of Rusco specifically, I think it's Rusco. I'm pretty sure of the song where it goes like "Wake the fuck up" and then it drops. Um, there's like a whole kind of story that goes with that, and then in the drop, the bass comes, but then on top of the bass, there's added trumpets. It's like "Ba-da-da-da-da-da," and like that goes with it and makes it interesting. So maybe you have some room to play with there, but overall, I think it was pretty decent. In terms of content, like I said, maybe make that drop thing synth fuller. Just it's the only thing there, or add another instrument to make it more interesting. And then just in the very beginning, the I think the buildup was too long, personally.
yeah,
But yeah, so I'd say I guess it's
that's
a
a good point.
yellow, between yellow and green for me. Really, it's not too
Yeah,
bad.
sure. Yeah, that makes
Yep.
sense. And then for production, I think it sort of ties into things we've already talked about, but like,
Yep.
your chorus is a little bit harsh. Whether, those instruments just need to be tamed, or if you solve that by using different sounds, or just playing around with things to alleviate that issue. Um, that's the main thing in production for me, and the level differences as well. Like, I would suggest just examining what the loudness differences are and trying to make less of a difference, maybe, while maintaining the different feel. So yeah, I mean, those are the main things for me. I think the low mids being lacking is accurate. Um, I would like to hear more of that low end from a dubstep song, especially.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. Otherwise, I don't think it's like there's other glaring problems really besides that. But those are pretty important. So
Mm.
production, I would give it between a yellow and a green.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was pretty decent too for production. So when I heard the volume difference, like I heard almost like the beginning had a verse and a chorus and stuff, and they were kind of balanced volume wise. But then for some reason, the second chorus was louder than everything else, which was weird to me. Um, like I almost expect a volume difference between the chorus and the verse, so I was like, okay, that's fine. But then the second chorus was louder than the first. I was like, why?
Yeah,
So production wise, it might be that I don't know. Unfortunately, like volume dynamics doesn't really happen in this space, and maybe that's you. Maybe you're a trendsetter or whatever, but typically it's for dance clubs and they're trying to play it as loud as possible. But then if you have the loudest part of your song at the end, the whole first part of the song is going to be quieter than all the other songs that are being played. So you don't want that.
right.
And it seems like also uh, I would probably work on side chaining the drums to come out a little bit more. They just didn't feel as punchy. I think the bass or the main wub sounded really really good though, with the exception of the low mids. But yeah, I thought it sounded pretty hard. It got me bopping my head and shit. So
Hmm.
for production, I think it's between yellow and green, and then the full track that same thing between yellow and green. Those are all my scores.
Yeah, full track. I would probably say I would say like 30, 25, 30% between yellow and green. I think there's like it's a good foundation, but it's not really that interesting to me, and it will take some work to make it more interesting, I think, which could involve the arrangement and the
Mm,
production. Um and also, just playing around with a number of variables to sculpt it. So
mm,
that's what I
mm.
would say.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for sending us that. Loved hearing. We got a couple good dubstep ones last week, so
Oh yeah.
that's good to hear.
It's nice to hear the old school. It was pretty dope.
Yeah. All right, so next up we've got a song from
And
the
shout out to
artist.
Jokerhead. Oh, I already said that.
Yeah.
All right.
Shout out
Oops.
again.
Yeah.
Uh,
Shout out Joker.
we have a song from the artist called So I Thought, and the song is called A Drop. I wonder if
Drop.
this one's dubstep, or maybe it's not. Maybe that's just on the mind.
Maybe.
They say this is a finished release, and there's no description.
Yeet.
So we
So we can dive
are
right in.
the mystery. Yes.
Let's do it. All right. A drop. So I thought. 3, 2,
2,
1.
1, go.
We're just like a drop in the bucket among the universe.
Interesting. It's like funky.
We're just like a drop in the bucket among the universe. We're just like a drop. Just like
It's very tight sounding drums.
Yeah.
we're just like a drop in the bucket among the universe. Just like
That was cool.
Yeah. You know, this reminds me of Cone Sound.
we're just like a drop in the bucket. Just like
Drop.
Nice.
That's a drop by So I Thought. That was really tight. Like tight as
Cool.
in cool, but also just tight. On the drums,
Yeah.
drums and bass, it sounded very, very. I thought it sounded pretty professional, actually.
Yeah. Do you mind if I go straight into production on this one? Because there's a lot of
Yeah,
stuff
go
that I'm
for it.
hearing.
Go for it.
This one's
Maybe
like
we should
a
switch the order because we always want to zone into.
sometimes. I mean, there's usually the most like specific detail we can give in production.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, for most of the song, I was feeling like there was something that was sort of unprofessional about, and maybe not even unprofessional, but I was hearing like specifically overcrowding. I think especially with like reverbs and delays,
Mm.
it sounds like there's maybe more than one reverb or delay being used that are kind of like a little bit overwhelming. Like they're just washing over each other a little bit too much.
Mhm.
It makes things a little bit ambiguous.
Mm.
That's what I was hearing throughout a lot of it. I should say though, that last third or quarter of the song or whatever that is sounded the most professional by far. Like that part
Yeah.
sounded really really good to me. The drums were punchy, and earlier I was thinking that the snare sounded a little bit overcompressed to me,
Hmm.
but in that later section it sounded okay
Mhm.
in context of everything that was going on, and
Yep.
the kick sounds really good. I thought things worked pretty well there. My biggest gripe throughout the song was that vocal sample.
Yeah.
I could really only hear like a couple of
Just
words from it.
one drop.
Yeah, just one drop, something about the universe, and I
Mm,
couldn't tell if there were other words that were being, masked by the other instruments that were going on.
mm,
So I would just say like you might want to try compressing that a little bit more, or making a space in the mix for it a little bit more.
mm,
Uh, I don't know if you could do like a very, very light side chain if you wanted to make that a little bit more present,
mm,
or you could just, try to pan things a little bit more out to the sides, just a little bit, to make a hole in the middle and have that some room there, and also have the benefit of a wider stereo spread
mm,
on your mix. So, yeah, I mean that's the main stuff. The issues with the reverbs clashing and that kind of stuff, or even maybe it's just that some of your different elements or samples are like eating at each other's frequency space, and you might want to do a little bit more like EQing around stuff, get rid of frequencies you don't need in all of your different instruments.
mm.
It'll make things more defined so we can really hear what's going on rather than sort of this ambiguous meld of different stuff together.
Yep.
Um, that would be real helpful. And once you do that, once you like sort of make each sound more defined in its own frequency area, then you can add space around it like reverb, and it fills in the space really nicely.
Mm,
And it's much more elegant than filling the space with just the reverb wash all over it. It gets a little bit cheap.
yeah.
So yeah, and as far as like that goes in score, I would say production is like, but between a yellow and a green. Um, but I would honestly say like, yeah, right around halfway probably. There's definitely still some important work to do, especially in the first 3/4 of the song,
Yep.
to make it sound more professional.
Yep. I honestly don't think production wise there was much of an issue. I think he was kind of going for this ambient kind of washed out reverby sound, which is okay and everything. I think production wise it sounded pretty good, and I think they know what they're doing because I think the second drop sounded just really really tight. Everything sounded balanced. Everything sounded
Yeah.
awesome.
Well,
What's
but
funny
look,
is
we've also talked a lot of times about when the end of somebody's song, which is often the loudest
Mhm.
part, sounds the best. A lot of times it means that they're spending most of their time mixing the end and
Yep,
not enough focusing on automation and making sure things sit the same way
for
in the
sure.
beginning.
For sure. I think for me, most of the gripes. So I guess before going into gripes and stuff, I thought this was really professional sounding. Really, I think, especially near the end there, I was kind of very impressed. The whole time I was thinking, the whole time I was like, oh, this is like cone sound but without the drums. And then the drums came in, I was like, this is like cone sound but without the bass. And then at the end, you put in the bass, and I was like, oh, this is like cone sound. I love cone sound, bro. Like um, people's attention spans are just not very long, man. I feel like you can't afford to one drop it once without a bass that's interesting, and then put the best part of your song at what is it like 2 or 3 minutes in.
Hmm.
It sounds really good. Just put it in the beginning. Um, Fuck it. And like what Josh said, I didn't like the main vocal sample either. It's not interesting. It's kind of annoying with the drop, and it's
Yeah.
like there's really cool robotic like Vocaloid sounds that are really happening right now. Um, but yeah, like having to sit through kind of a 1 minute intro of ambient, nothing much going on. So for me personally, I think vibes near the end of the song is green. It's awesome. The rest of the song is probably a yellow, just because it's boring. Um, like why take out the bass in that first drop if it sounds so good at the later one? Um, Find a different way to build climax. You know, um, content I think is the biggest thing. It's a yellow for me. Production I think it's green. I think overall though it's pretty close to green. I think it's like 80% of the way there. So
For the whole track, you mean?
for the whole track, yeah. Because like I mean, a lot of people do like ambient stuff, and I think it sounds professional enough. There's just like it's just kind of boring in the beginning, and then I don't see like a logical or not maybe not logical, but like I feel like there's a different way you could build climax instead of just getting rid of the bass in the first drop. Like
Yeah, probably.
switch it up, like switch it up the melody, put some chops in there or something. But yeah, don't just take away the best part.
I mean, yeah, you could even like dial the drums back a little bit, but add
Mhm.
add the bass in. Like, I mean, there's a lot of cool examples of like,
Or chop up that vocal sample to make it sound cool and interesting and something. But
yeah.
I don't know.
I think there's potentially cooler examples of like drops that have like the bass and all the instruments, but not the drums, or a limited version of the drums than the
Yeah.
other way. Like you can do cool stuff with, then it really packs a punch when the drums come in. Even if just like the first half is like without drums, then you bring them in or something like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I think overall vibes, I like it. I would give it a close to green probably.
Yep.
And content, I think, is just some arrangement stuff. I would say it's like 70% of the way between yellow to green.
Mhm.
And then yeah, we already talked about production, but
Yep.
overall, oh, one other small tip with the like crowding thing. I know especially for this kind of song, people will often add just like a lot of layers, like a lot of little auxiliary samples and parts that are happening in the background. And it's true that there are songs out there like professional stuff that do a lot of layers and a lot of filling in little auxiliaries. The important part is making sure that there's nothing in there that's causing either like rhythmic clashing, where the rhythms are misaligned in such a way that it sort of dulls the impact of your main sort of rhythmic structure, right? And you can add things that sort of play on the subdivisions, but if you're playing on the wrong subdivisions, like say you have a song that's like has a slight swing to it, like the drums have a slight swing, and then you have a rhythmic-ish sample in the background that's not swinging, you're going to have these clashes between these like micro intervals, rhythmic intervals that are going to dull the effect of your swing. Now you're like kind of,
Did
rubbing up against each other a little bit.
Did you hear that here?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying, is that a lot of times there are these layers that are sort of not audible enough to be able to pick out really specifically as a listener, but they sort of just muddle things up. Like they sort
Yeah.
of just make things a little bit less impactful. You have this general sense of like clashing somewhere,
Mhm.
and it just doesn't sound as clean in an arrangement.
Yeah.
Those could be caused by frequencies overlapping and basically like frequency um uh ambiguity, where you're like everything's just a soup of like everything's melding into everything rather than having some separation and then filling in the space with reverbs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
um I would suggest, if you have any of those layers in the background, investigate which ones are really serving your purpose and which ones are just in there because you felt like you wanted to have or needed to have more layers to sound good. Maybe you
Yeah.
don't. Or try to just the ones that are okay, if you still feel like they're a little bit distracting, like pulling the ear away from the main driving force, just turn them down a little bit in the background, and you might find that things get cleaned up a lot while still sounding full.
I think I mean you said it like a soup, right? I think that was kind
Mhm.
of intentional. I was trying to name the genre of this, and I was thinking somewhere along the lines of liquid, and liquid literally like soup. I
Yeah,
honestly think that the ambience is fine, but you need to have a main thing, and the main thing was one, like you said, kind of inaudible. Two, not very good. Like
yeah, that would
that's
be the
my
biggest
kind of thing.
change.
Yeah.
I think that
So
would be the biggest thing.
cool.
Yep. So, I mean, track total, I would give it a again pretty similar, like a 25-30% between develop and good to go.
I'm at like 80, but yeah, same in between there.
All right,
Cool.
cool.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
So I
sending it
thought,
in.
yeah, I hope you got
Send
some
us more
sleep last
stuff.
week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, for real, man, you do sound like Cone Sound at the end, and I love Cone Sound. Like, yeah, there's a lot of potential for sure. I think we have a
Hmm.
bad habit of diving into what we think is wrong. Maybe we should do a compliment
Right.
sandwich, but I don't know.
I mean, but you know, are
Yeah,
you coming here for compliments or to learn and grow? We can try to be nicer though.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, let us know.
But then again, I mean, you don't. I guess it's good to know what you're doing well, of
Mhm,
course, but the main thing is to know how you can improve.
for sure.
All right. So next up, we've got Giordano
Giordano,
Martinez,
work in progress.
and the song is called "Beginning of Forever," featuring Olga Ilyashenko
Ilyashenko.
and Joshua Zook. All
Dope.
right, great name there.
Yeah,
Work in progress, and that's what we've got.
let's do it.
Ready to go?
Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1, play it.
What's up, Esma Beats? Happy Friday. lot of
cool
the
soundscape, but those sounds are a little bit harsh.
playing is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just the recording and mixing. That's cool. Ooh, that's cool. I like that. Finally, some relief,
Yeah.
and it's over.
Wow.
Some parts I like, some parts I don't, says Espa Beats. I agree. It's a weird track.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's literally like freeform IDM almost.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's sort of like art music ish.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, should we dive in? We can probably go in order here.
Yeah. What, like vibes and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like IDM to me. I think there's a lot of cool ideas, both production wise and instrumental wise. But there's some times where I'm just lost in the noise and not in a good way.
Yeah.
I don't know what to focus on. And then the stuff that's poking out hurts to listen to. Like
Yeah.
um pre-battle song with violin. Yeah. If you have this as your pre-battle song, you're gonna get fucked up. Spoiler.
Yes.
Yeah, you're
That's
gonna get fucked
accurate.
up. But yeah, that's my first impressions really. Vibes. I don't know. I think it's a yellow. Anytime I'm hurting to listen to it, man. I did. Yeah, it's yellow for
Yeah.
me. What do you think, Josh?
I mean, I don't know what the extent of the experimentalism that this person is going for is. It could make a big difference, right? Like
Hmm.
if you're sort of intending for it to be just like this sort of experimental landscape thing, then yeah, I've heard a lot of stuff, in that area that this sits really well with.
Hmm.
If you're trying to make it more soundtrack ish, which I think there's a differentiation between like experimental versus soundtrack,
Hmm.
because you're trying to create more of a purposeful sort of listener journey,
Yeah,
instead of just having a lot of like sounds and experimenting with all of that shit.
yeah,
Which if I had to choose, I probably most of the time prefer the soundtrack ish thing because it has more of a purposeful, intentional, you know, uh,
yeah. I felt no
me-
purpose with this.
meaning to it. Yeah, and there were parts where I felt like, oh, like that's kind of cinematic.
The ending.
But I just don't know if the parts were all strung together in a way that seemed to make a lot of sense, right?
Yep.
Like you would suddenly go out of a section and I think internally, like you sort of know whether something is makes sense in terms of the durations, like sections, right? Like this section should be like 8 bars and this one should be 16 or 24 or 32, whatever.
Mm.
But you can sort of tell if something's a little off kilter there. And
Yeah.
if it's like every section's like that, it just feels disorganized.
Mhm.
So overall, I like what you're doing, and we don't get a lot of this.
Nope.
But if your intention is for it to be more soundtracky and really get like more emotion out of the listener, then I would say it needs some work. I would give it somewhere between a yellow and a green, depending on those things. It's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be my lack of taste in this. I have heard like IDM. It's not exactly IDM because it's not dance music. It definitely sounds more somewhat soundtracky.
Yeah,
But yeah, like you said, Josh, I think it lacks purpose. Like
yeah,
most of the time, I was confused.
Right.
Like why is this happening? Like why is this drum track going panning left and right while I'm getting attacked by a wall of sound that hurts to listen to? It's like
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the big problem, and we can talk about that in production. But I do think that like there is a place for the experimentalism vibe, or like a more chaotic sort of story,
mhm,
where you are able to sort of incite the imagination of the listener,
yeah,
and I was getting some of that. I just felt like because of the way the sections changed, it was so discontinuous that I was like just confused. Like I wasn't sure what to make of it.
yeah,
Um, versus a story that has all those same elements, but they're just arranged in a more, purposeful manner, organized manner.
yeah.
To do, I mean, content
That's
really
kind of what
bleeds
we're
into
talking
that.
about.
Like
Yeah,
pretty much the arrangement,
structure.
uh, yeah, the structure could just be more intentional. I can't really think of much else in terms of content. You did talk a little bit about like the recording, and that's sort of like source content.
Hmm.
I don't know like what here was recorded live and what wasn't. I mean, everything sounds like convincing. Like I think that
Yeah,
the sounds themselves, if it's real playing or if it's samples, either way, it sounds convincing.
yeah,
Um, didn't really hear any issue with that. Maybe one thing, I thought some of those like static parts were a little bit too intense. Like you could maybe just turn the static down a little bit, honestly, because they sounded like, I think for some reason when you put static in something and you make it way too loud, it becomes cheesier. Like the more volume that you add, the more proportional to the rest of the mix. Or it could just be that the mix doesn't sound fully authentic because that's a volume balance issue. But
yep,
yeah, I mean, otherwise I think your content is pretty good. I would give you closer to a green probably on the actual content, although I guess factoring in arrangement, again, I would give you like halfway between develop and good to go.
yeah. It might be my lack of expertise in this area, but um, there's parts that I really liked. I agree with Espa there. There's parts that I did like and parts that I didn't. What I really liked was the end there. There was like a nice reprieve. There was a beautiful synth and a beautiful melody. I was like, this is great. Um, but the whole kind of journey in between, I was just confused and I was, my ears were hurting. Um,
Yeah,
so I don't know how exactly to fix that. Um, I'm trying to think how exactly I would approach it, but I just didn't feel even melodic wise. It didn't feel like any sort of tension or journey was happening. It just sounded like a bunch of crazy shit, and then an instrument, and then an instrument with a synth that rhythmically doesn't really fit together. Like I'm thinking of the sax and this kind of LFO synth bass kind of thing. Um, it was just weird. I can't really describe it. So that's my kind of downfall as a reviewer, but this is what
yeah.
I'm hearing. So arrangement for me, I think it's between it's a yellow and an orange, or a yellow and a red. So orange for me.
Sure. There was one thing to think about there. I mean, again, if it is meant to be just an experimental thing, like I don't think you're that far off in terms of the arrangement stuff.
Hmm.
But again, it depends on what your intention is there.
Yeah,
There were points that I realized like there is definitely a meter here. It's not like totally free form time signature.
yeah,
There's
for
there's a
sure.
beat
Yeah,
to it, but I did notice at least a few occasions where things were a little bit out of that, like
yep,
not in like a swung way or something that would be more intentional again,
yep,
but just like whether it was playing or a sample not properly aligned, the timing was a little bit uh, distracting to where it's like, oh, that's not a professional, it's like an amateur type thing because it's
yeah,
not played in time.
hmm,
That's just like, it's always hard. I mean, there's a lot of good people that even make mistakes like that. But
yeah,
if you want to sound professional, it's got to be played like in time.
hmm,
That's a big thing. So then I think the biggest thing for me, like throughout the whole song, I was riding my volume knob
me too.
because those high everything is just too harsh for the most part. Anything that
Yep,
has significant high frequency content, too harsh. Um, check maybe your room is over treated, so maybe
yep,
you are in a carpet room with like curtains and like foam on the walls. I generally recommend against in a mixing setting acoustic foam, like the thin foam stuff, because it only absorbs high frequencies. It doesn't absorb any mids or lows. So what ends up happening if you have too much of it, especially, it can be used to solve flutter echo problems and stuff like that because that's limited to the high frequency range. But if you have mid or low end issues in your room, which if it's a smaller room you probably do, that's to solve those problems, and it's going to make your listening environment less balanced. So now you're getting no high frequency back in your ears, but you're getting more mids and lows than you are supposed to. So it's unbalanced. It means that you're going to overcompensate and put too much high end into your mixes, and in some cases, not enough low end.
Yep.
So I don't know. Maybe it's a room problem. Maybe it's the speakers or headphones. Maybe it's your ears. Just kidding. Hopefully, it's not.
Yeah.
But I would say, I mean, overall, I don't think that the mixing is terrible.
No.
Not at all. I just
No.
think that there's an overall sheen of things being too harsh. That's
Yep.
it.
I was
So,
thinking the exact same thing. Exactly.
Yeah, you might even be able to get somebody to master it and
Exactly.
bring down the high end a little bit.
Yeah, it might
Uh,
just needs to be like, or specific just frequencies that are just way too pingy or ringy, and just get a really skinny EQ filter there and just, or bandpass, or what is it? Notch.
Yeah, I mean, right. As a quick fix, easiest thing to do would be to apply really carefully some sort of master EQ or a multi-band compressor or limiter or something that's gonna sculpt your sound back to what it should be. So
Yeah.
pretty much like removing those really harsh frequencies, and it's probably not the whole top end. It's probably mostly in one area that our
Yep.
ears are super sensitive to.
Yep.
But that's probably the easiest way. The better way for the future would be make sure that your listening environment is telling you the truth, basically, so you can mix and expect other people to hear what you're hearing.
Yeah.
So for production, I would give it, again, I mean, pretty much between develop and good to go. Like, other things are really good. It's just the issue with the harshness.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's not a lot of issues here, but there is an issue, and I think it's big because it hurts to listen to. So I'll
Right.
put it as yellow. And for my overall track total, I think it's a yellow.
Yeah, I would give it maybe like just above a yellow. There's again, if you're trying to be experimental about it, you've got a lot really working for you here. But there are definitely some things to work on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Sweet.
All right. Thank you, Giordano. I think he
Thank
was
you.
our only YouTube viewer last time, so thank you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Bollywood
Next up.
Vibes says Tear Bear. What's up, Tear Bear?
What's up?
Astro Synth.
Yeah, next we've got Astro Synth. The song is called Escape from Synthwave. It's a work in progress.
Oh, it's Jokerhead.
Hey, let's go.
How did you change your color too? He's like green now. I don't know how he did it.
Oh, so he's got two songs here. So Astro Synth is not the artist name then? Or
I mean, I don't know. Astro Synth, aka Jokerhead. Okay. Cool. All right,
Nice.
I'm excited
Okay.
for this. I love the cover art. It's pretty dope.
Sweet.
All right, you ready?
All right, you ready? Yep.
All right, 3,
3,
Okay,
2,
go for it.
1, go.
Ooh, look at those drums.
Nice.
Escape from synthwave or immersed in synthwave?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Accidental kill. This is that.
I like that minor seventh up there.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
That da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I think he likes it too.
Yeah.
He goes to it a lot.
great.
Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. Might just go on too long for the same thing for me though.
Sure.
Cool. Escape from Synthwave, Jokerhead, aka
Nice.
Astro Synth, but he changed it back.
Cool. That's good.
Yeah, that was decent. That was solid. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, those drums are nice. They hit hard. Love that. That part's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And
Or
the
ghastly type beat.
stereo ping pong with that, really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Love that. At the end, when you said that it went on a little bit too long, I was thinking this would be awesome with a vocal feature
Mm.
on it.
Mm.
Like even just like a version of it, like a remix or something or whatever. Because I think it can pretty much stand on its own, and it depends like, what the application of it is. Like, yeah, I could probably see like listening to this while doing work or something for some
Mm.
people, or in like a video, it could work
Yeah.
there too, probably, or even like maybe in a game or something.
Yeah. This
But
is a
I think
loopable thing for sure.
it could be like legit like song had a vocal on it, and I think that you could have a lot of different ways to do that would work.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, vibes. I liked it. It gave me good vibes as a person listening to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think the vibes of the song are good. I would give it pretty much a good to go on the vibes. There might be a couple improvements that would help the vibes be even better. So
Yeah.
maybe like almost good to go. But yeah, what do you think?
Sorry, I'm giving myself a massage. I'm sore. I think the vibes are solid. It goes with this solid snake looking character here with the eye patch on the right. I think it says first attempt at something synthwavy. You could have fooled me. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, vibes. I got no complaints, man. I think it sounds pretty decent. I think it's green. He said in the chat, not very good at mixing it up. Sorry. Hey, man. I mean, that could be solved by either making it shorter or getting better at mixing it up, and that's what we're here to help you out, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think fundamentally, it's solid. So, yeah.
Definitely.
What about content, Josh?
Yeah, content. I mean, I think we alluded to this already, but yeah, it just goes on a little bit long with the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like the sounds themselves, or it can sort of be like content. I can't say that I'm entirely happy with the lead sounds, and I think
Mhm.
there's like kind of two of them. There's the one that does the like legato thing. Well, yeah, there's that one that does the stutter thing,
Mhm.
and then there's the one that goes right, that like does the whole pitch
Mhm.
thing all the way
Mhm.
through. That one I thought sounds a little bit cheesy, or like just on the edge of being a little bit cheesy to me.
Mhm.
I think you could do the pitch glide thing, but with a just a different sound.
Mhm.
And then the stutter
Maybe like a
one,
more airy pad or something.
yeah, like there's
Sounded
just
kind
a
of
little bit of an
bare in the top frequencies there.
yeah, there's like a nasaliness to it, or something
Right.
that's a little bit like corny or something like that.
Mhm.
So that could probably be a little bit nicer, a little bit
Mhm.
more professional or whatever. And then let's see. Oh, the stutter one, I just felt like either it was like slightly too loud relative to the rest of the mix,
Mhm.
or there's just a little bit of like top end in the transient, the initial transient of those stutters poking out just a little bit too high.
Mhm.
So you could try either of those, either lower it a little bit, but you might risk losing some punch, or you could just try lowering the transient if you have control over the waveform. I don't know if it's a sample or if it's a wave up, or EQing out some of that super harsh top end there.
Mhm.
But yeah, overall, other than that content, aside from it'd be nice to have a singer on it, or to change it up a little bit, or to make it shorter, I would say to develop in the content area.
Yeah, yeah. They asked what kind of vocals. I was thinking the same thing. I don't know if it needs vocals, but I do think there needs to be a change up. So Josh, maybe you can give your idea on vocals.
I mean, I was saying I think it could work in a number of ways. Like I think it could work well with a male or a female vocal, honestly.
Mhm.
It sounds like it's waiting for there to be like a really catchy melody that goes over it, because that
Right.
chorus repeats, and so it sort of makes me think of like there should be like a hook melody over this.
Mhm.
Um, that
What
I
I
think
want to.
that would be accomplished well by a vocal.
Oh fuck. No way. I'm not gonna forget this artist right now. Am I? I was gonna give him a suggestion for synthwave. Um. God, what is it fucking called? Oh no. Jokerhead. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to get back to you on this. Maybe I can email you. There's a specific synth artist that is so fucking good at this kind of music. He makes really catchy melodies and he switches it up a lot. Um, from here, the switch up that I heard was that you just took out some synths and then you put just the drum and the lead melody for a little bit, and then everything came back in. It was the same. And at the end, you just left the bass. Like that's what I heard as a switch up, and that's not satisfactory for 3 minutes. So I would try to say, maybe put in different melodies. What's a shame is that the things that you're doing as a musician, I really appreciate. Like with me and Josh were like, oh, that's that minor seventh. That just sounds really fucking sick. I was like, oh, that's an accidental. There's a pitch glide, and it's unique, and you make it sound good. So definitely, fundamentally, it's there. Just try to make a different part that's cool like that, and then put it in the same song. Make sure it transitions well. But I'm gonna have to get back to you on who that artist is. Um, fuck, this is pissing me off. I'll email you, Jokerhead. But
Nice.
if you put our email in, if not, I'll chat you if you come back. But okay, I think protection for me, I think it's pretty much green. I think content, it's a yellow. Vibes, it's green. Overall, it's like 50% yellow, 50% green.
Yeah, production. I mean, I think that little bit of harshness and volume was the main thing, and then your arrangement is, just kind of more content, I guess. But production, yeah, it's mostly good. Drums sound good. I would give it a yeah. That stereo ping pong Tom's thing on the drum is awesome. That's great. Uh, yeah, I would give it a very close to green, if not green on production. A couple of small tweaks, but that's mostly it. And then track total, yeah, I guess with the things we talked about, I would put it pretty squarely between develop and good to go.
Mhm. Solid
But yeah,
foundation though.
there's a lot
And
working well for
fucking
this.
your first time as synthwave, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive. All right, sweet. Thank you for sending us that. I think we've got another one from you. I don't know if we'll get to it before Chris has to go,
Right.
but we'll try to
This
get
one
through
I'm
a
gonna have to
few
do in like
more.
5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, will we be able to get through? Oh, is Meadle here? Actually, maybe we should ask if Meadle's here. No.
Meadle, if you're here, say what's up.
Let's just try to do this as quickly as you can. All right, Clintone Brawberry. This is a finished release. Its description is just a fun little synthwave-ish. Oh, another synthwave-ish track I made a couple weeks ago. I try to evoke emotion in my track, so hopefully it brings someone joy and or some nostalgia. All right, sweet.
This is gonna piss me off. Not the song, sorry. The fact that I can't remember the artist. We're doing Clintone?
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's do it. After this, I gotta go.
All right.
All right, let's do it.
Waiting
3,
for it to
2, 1.
load.
Oh, okay. I was like, you ready?
3, 2. Yeah.
3,
3,
2,
2, 1.
1.
Go.
Appreciate you, Jokerhead. Thank you very much for submitting. And we definitely want to hear you back. When you come back here, I'll have that artist for you. Ooh, the fucking size of the mix sounds awesome.
Yeah.
The depth. God. I need to find this artist. Ooh, I like this.
Nice strings, yeah.
It's like Hotline Miami type beat.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Carpenter Brute. Holy shit. Sorry, I'm listening. This is really solid. I do like it. See, Jokerhead, this is how you change it up. Add another instrument that adds a different melody to it.
Yeah. Similar thing with the stutter rhythm and then like the lead synthwave.
The drums are nice and tight here.
Yeah. Cool. Autoplay. Curse autoplay. All right. I mean, overall, pretty cool. I think for the most part, things sound pretty good, like pretty, well produced, professional, all that. Just like first impressions or whatever. I think it goes on a little bit long. I think there's that second build just feels way too long. Like it feels like it builds all the way from like the halfway point to like the 3/4.
Yep.
It's like a minute of build or something.
Yep.
It doesn't quite move quickly enough there to keep up the momentum. I think when you're building, you have a limited window. There's like a sweet spot where you're grabbing the person's attention and making them want more, and then just like boring them and they become disinterested, and then you totally lose all of that tension momentum. Instead, you've like annoyed your listener mildly. So yeah, I would say just like, again, shorten that up a little bit, make it a little more concise. Just like with writing, you start out with too many words usually, and you just got to make them a little more concise. And then the thing that was bugging me, honestly, was the kick drum. And I know that
in the
might be
beginning.
kind of, especially in the beginning. I think
Yep.
it was the combination of the bass and the kick drum, way too heavy, or maybe not way too heavy, but way too heavy. Like I
You
think
could
you
hear
could just
the what's it called? What did you call it last time?
the beater.
The beater noise.
Yeah. So you can choose where you amplify the beater frequency usually. Like you can, EQ around wherever you want the most of that. And there are some areas of that range that just sit with me a little bit weird.
Yep.
Right? Like
I agree.
and this was that frequency where I don't know why, but there's something about that exact EQ of the beater that just like doesn't sit with me quite right.
Yeah.
In combination with, I think, the low end being too heavy, it just makes the whole kick drum sound too dark, too like boomy. It's like the sumo wrestler of kick drums. It's just like so giant.
You fat shaming right now?
Only the kick drum.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that's the main thing for me. I just think that was like a little bit of a shame because it distracted me from the rest.
Yep.
again, maybe it's a listening situation, maybe it's just preference, but
Yep.
yeah, I would correct that.
Yep. Just a heads up from me. I have 2 minutes, so I might get going kind of fast.
Yeah, sure.
Overall, like I think of this as like the last kind of track vibe too. Very Hotline Miami. Someone said Ibiza vibes. I agree with them.
Yeah.
Um, this could be. I could totally see it on a video game like Hotline Miami. This definitely has like a waiting menu screen. It sounds like more background music, which some synthwave kind of sounds like, which is cool. There was change ups, but it wasn't as kind of insane as Carpenter Brute. So Jokerhead, that might be an extreme example of a change up because he does a straight up fucking drops and shit, and it goes hard when sometimes it doesn't need it, like this one. Yeah, I don't think I have too many complaints on this. I think vibes is green. I think content. I do agree that the build up was kind of long and arduous, and it just all kind of felt like background music to me. I got a little bit bored and I was looking for that artist. I didn't
Yeah.
find them. It just popped in my head, but it served its purpose pretty great for background music. When I did tune back
Mhm.
in though, and then the strings came in, I liked everything that I heard. So maybe on the arrangement side, maybe just try to go a little bit less time on the build-ups there, and a little bit more variance into what you're changing into. Uh, Again, I suggest Carpenter Brute, but I'm biased because I fucking love his music, and he's the only one type of synthwave artist, and quite frankly, he probably for me is one of the only ones I listen to. So, um, I think arrangements in between yellow and green, production, I think it sounds pretty good. I do think that the beater noise is coming out a little bit too much, especially in the beginning. That's the first thing I noticed. But when I came back near the end, when everything's kind of in the mix, it sounds pretty tight to me. I think it sounds great later on. So maybe just automation in the beginning, make the beater a little less present when there's nothing else going on. Um, Production, I think it's like 80% green, and my track total, it's like 75% green, between green and yellow.
Yeah,
Right.
I would.
I gotta go, Josh.
You have to go right now, or can we
Yeah.
close it out for 2 minutes? So yeah, vibes. I would say most of the way to green. Like it. A couple things that could be improved to make the vibes even better. Content. I would. Again, it's just about the arrangement being a little bit long for the most part, and potentially your kick drum being a source material thing that honestly I would look into either like really making changes with your spectrum there of your kick drum so it's not so boomy, and maybe the bass as well. That's also a production note. Or messing around with the beater frequency, or even just trying a different kick sample. Honestly, might just make it easier to fix that boominess problem, feeling too dark and too heavy.
Mhm.
So content, I would give it between a yellow and good to go, like 20% between yellow to good to go, and then production, I would give it like a 50% between yellow and good to go. Track total would be similar to that as well, somewhere between develop and good to go, maybe like 40% or so, kind of averages out. So
Mhm.
yeah, I guess that's all that we've got time for today. Thanks to everyone for submitting these, and I know
Happy
we've got
Friday.
yeah, happy Friday, happy weekend. I know we've got a couple more to get to. We will not,
Sorry, guys.
unfortunately, not streaming next week or the week after because of Thanksgiving stuff and holidays and all that kind of shit. But we'll be back after that. Also, follow us on Instagram because we've got some fun stuff actually coming up on there in the next couple of weeks while we're gone from the stream.
Yeah.
And you can join our Discord as well. I think we can do the little Discord command here, and it should work. Hopefully.
There
Yeah,
it
there it
is.
is. So
Dope.
there's a link to our Discord. Join that, and we can talk in the meantime. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's all we've got.
Yeah. Last thing, guys. One last question from Jokerhead. Would you say my track is synthwave or a different type of subgenre? Darker? I don't think it's darker. Like I think Carpenter Brute is darker than you. I don't know what he's called in terms of synthwave. Like your song didn't make me want to go on a murder killing spree, which I feel like Carpenter Brute does.
Sure.
So I don't know if it's darker. I might not be as familiar with synthwave, but I feel like that's an accurate genre description. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I don't think I know it as well to say that, but I would say it seems like it fits into synthwave pretty well.
Yeah. All right. With that, we're done. Later, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good
Again,
weekend.
follow us on those platforms, join our Discord. We'll see you in a few weeks. In the meantime, we'll see you on Instagram and Discord.
Peace
Have a
out.
good weekend, and peace out, everyone.
Peace out.
good luck with the show, Chris.
Thanks, man. Sorry I have to leave so early.
It's all good.
All
All
right,
right.
peace.
Peace out, folks.